together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress, and AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just a postscript on our discussion of Jack Smith's testimony before the House Judiciary Committee yesterday in terms of whether he has potential criminal exposure over an alleged violation of the speech and debate clause of the Constitution as it pertains to members of Congress with the subpoenas he issued for phone records that were not disclosed. He got non-disclosure agreements. What if he made false representations to the court? One of our astute listeners, probably an attorney, I'm guessing, suggested 18 U.S. Code 242, which makes it a crime to willfully deprive another individual of rights or privileges protected by the Constitution. That's an interesting theory. That could have some legs. We'll ask Richard Epstein about that in the next hour. I suppose you would have to have a court inveigh on whether or not, where the lines are, essentially, whether or not Jack Smith's conduct of that sort is violative. And as Brandon Gill mentioned in the cross-examination of Smith, the court's never weighed in on that, on what he did, and the Department of Justice has changed policy. So does that indicate a desire to steer clear of that because it's just bad practice and it was a bad precedent, he said, and it opens the door for more lawfare in the form of prosecutors, Department of Justice prosecutors or special counsels spying on members of Congress, and Department of Justice thought better of it, or their belief that what he did was unconstitutional, bad policies and practices that needed to be improved, or a belief that it's unconstitutional, and could you get a court agree to the latter, that would set Jack Smith up for potential prosecution. Good questions. I think it's unclear. But I suspect that Pam Bondi is going to err on the side of being aggressive after the testimony that he gave. One other legal matter to fold in here, now going back to the matter of immigration. Sort of an important piece that was posted by the General Counsel for Department of Homeland Security amid what you hear, from the Open Borders Abolish ICE crowd. They have, a couple of lines that they just rinse and repeat. They really don't have there's really no demonstrated underlying understanding of what they're saying, probably because there isn't an underlying understanding. But talk about warrants. Oh, if you have a warrant, if you have this and you have that, then you're allowed. But you can't just do this and you can't just do that without a warrant. Well, here's what you can do. So pay attention and pass on to your friends. Here's what you can do if you're enforcing federal immigration law. As Jimmy Percival writes in the Journal, yes, the Fourth Amendment is an essential safeguard for Americans' privacy and personal liberty, and its protections must not be eroded. But they also must not be misappropriated by those seeking to subvert legitimate law enforcement, which the left has done for decades, particularly in the area of immigration enforcement, he writes. There have been reports about ICE officers using administrative warrants, so-called administrative warrants in Minnesota, to arrest illegal immigrants with final orders of removal in their homes. And that is legal. That is not, these are only administrative orders. It's sort of the same way they say that entering the country illegally isn't a crime, except it is. And the administrative orders are lawful orders for federal law enforcement to enforce. Illegal aliens don't have the same rights as citizens. This just in. I know that's shocking to the sanctuary jurisdiction crowd, but that's true. Under federal immigration law, officers may issue an administrative warrant, which means that the probable cause finding is made by an executive branch officer rather than a judicial officer, which is consistent with the broad judicial recognition that illegal immigrants aren't entitled to the same Fourth Amendment protections as the U.S. This is Supreme Court case law. While administrative warrants may satisfy the Fourth Amendment for any arrest of an illegal alien, ICE currently uses these warrants to enter an illegal alien's residence only when the alien has received a final order of deportation from an immigration judge. That means that the illegal immigrant has already seen a judge, presented his case, received due process, and has been ordered removed from the country. In this context, illegal immigrants are fugitives from justice. And the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction in Minnesota, has expressly recognized that administrative warrants may be used to enter a residence to capture a fugitive. So all this caterwauling about no due process and violations of the Fourth Amendment and extra constitutional police squads or death squads or Nazi squads or whatever ad hominem they direct this way, totally baseless. Totally baseless. Under the law, under the Constitution, per Supreme Court jurisprudence. Seems like this is something very important to get into the conversation in terms of trying to enhance understanding here. And as we talked about a bit earlier in the show, J.D. Vance was there yesterday in Minnesota to extend an olive branch.
One of the things I learned is that the guys behind me are doing an incredible job, and frankly, a lot of the media is lying about the job that they do every single day. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't occasionally stories out there, there aren't occasionally videos out there that suggest that these guys, or at least some of the people who work for them, are not doing everything right. But very often, if you look at the context of what's going on, you understand that these people are under an incredible amount of duress, an incredible amount of chaos, and because of a few very far left agitators, a lot of these guys are unable to do their jobs without being harassed, without being doxxed, and sometimes without being assaulted. That's totally unacceptable. And that's one of the things that I want to send a message to is, yes, come out and protest me, protest our immigration policy, but do it peacefully. If you assault a law enforcement officer, the Trump administration and the Department of Justice is going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law.
For more on all this and other topics, Salena Zito joins us, national political reporter. You can always check out her latest reporting at selenazito.com. She's also the author of Butler, The Untold Story of the Near Assassination of Donald Trump and the Fight for America's Heartland. Her new book, Butler. Pick it up. Salena, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Just on the matter of the attempt to turn down the chaos, as J.D. Vance said yesterday. Did you? What did you make of Vance being dispatched to Minnesota to, in my characterization, extend an olive branch to the state and locals, whether or not they accept it?
Well, I think his comportment and the way he handled the questions, not rising to the bait. If anybody listened to all of the questions that were that he took, a lot of them were hostile, like had
yes.
preconceived, like had they put their answers that they wanted in the question.
How about like are you proud of yourself? I mean, that's a real balanced question, right? Yeah.
And I thought to myself, my editor would kill me if I asked questions in that way, because I'm putting my opinion rather than what is going on as the question. So I thought that he wisely did not rise to the bait. His comportment was calm. It was empathetic. He hedged, or not he hedged. He didn't shy away from possible problems happening here or there and the human element because of it. And I thought overall, I thought it was a great way to handle the situation. I knew he was going to be doing this press conference, and I knew what time it was going to be. So I made the effort to go and sit at a local sort of diner restaurant, because I know they always have the news on, and just watch people's reaction. And I got the same sense from people watching it that he brought the temperature down. And the people that are allegedly leading the state are stoking the fire. And I don't know how anybody thinks that's acceptable in that city, other than they can't see past their own biases.
Right, and I think there's some sort of on the center left that want the left to be better and more successful that are essentially saying the same thing. Is like, this is not first of all, this is not the civil rights movement. This isn't even George Floyd, and you're way overplaying your hand.
Well, and there's a lot on the left that don't want the temperature brought down.
Mm-hmm.
These are this isn't just me guessing. I've been at this job for a very long time. These are, I'm sure there are community people that are involved, but overall, these are very organized events. They are done within the structure of an organization. This is not a, sort of come from the bottom grassroots moment where people are coming out because of their, they feel strongly about something. That doesn't mean there isn't a portion of it, but the entire infrastructure of these events are like that. There's going to be one today in Pittsburgh, and they plan on occupying a Target store, going inside it, and I think that's not going to work out well for them.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's really interesting you say that, because it struck me that what you just said. I mean, just strikes me as so spot on, and I'm reminded of this clip I just saw the other day. Rahm Emanuel on NPR pitching his wares. He's a presidential aspirant, and he's trying to be the guy who's like willing to say some uncomfortable truths to the left, like boys can't become girls. Wow,
right.
It's so powerful. Yep. Yeah, right. But I mean, he's trying to run in the lane that nobody's occupying right now on their side. But even he can't resist things like this.
I think corporate America here, I'll say it here, is I think they've sold out America, and America is loyal to them. And what I mean by that is, you benefit from a nation built on laws, and you're watching from the sideline a nation being destroyed and walking away from the rule of law. Everything you have is built on the premise of the rule of law. Number two, the president's declared war on the greatest research system in the world it's ever seen. And your company is a direct beneficiary of that. And you're like the three monkeys: see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. You are timid souls.
So, I mean, first of all, everything Rahm Emanuel has is from being a corporatist. I mean, so it's laughable that he is, corporate America is my boîte noire. I mean, this is him trying to find a way to credentialize himself with the street revolutionaries that really are center mass for that party.
What Emanuel's trying to do, and by the way, I will never take away how brilliant his moves were in 2006 during those midterm elections. He wisely picked centrist Democrats, in particular my state in Pennsylvania, that were pro-life and pro-gun and supported the war in Iraq, right? So he understands how you win. He understands how you don't win as a Democrat, and he understands that if he's going to run for president or be a leading voice for the Democrats in leading up to 2026, that you can't run against Trump because you need those voters that left the Democrats and went to the Republicans. This is my long way of saying that corporate America is going to be the bad guy, not Trump, in former Congressman for Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
Well, I get that, but I'm just saying, in a vacuum, that's probably a good place. But but I'm just saying it's so they're so over the edge that Rahm Emanuel feels the need. I mean, that may be his positioning. But they know him. He's not going to be able to sell it, in my view. And we know him in Chicago very well, of course. But because it is so disingenuous. It is so performative. But he knows he needs to, at least have some place where he's going to be strident that aligns with the target sit-ins. It's just not going to sell. But I mean, it just shows no matter who you are, you have to sell to that audience in order to make it in that party.
Right. What he wants to do is have a populist wing that's more center within his party.
Yeah.
And so corporations become, you always have to have a contrast, right? And you always have to be running against something. It's not going to work against running against Trump, because what ends up happening is you sort of degrade the people that voted for him, and they're not going to come to your side. So, okay, let's pick something that everybody can not like, and let's pick corporate America, forgetting that there's going to be scrutiny on what your involvement has been with corporate America.
Yeah, I mean, it's Trump right now running against health insurance companies, running against the big banks and the credit card, annual percentage rates and so forth. The same sort of populism.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Populism works because our cultural curators in institutions, corporations, academia, legacy Hollywood, legacy media, has the perception on both sides of having failed the American people. So that populism is going to be within both parties. Who does it effectively and with a way to sway the voter? That's going to be the challenge.
Salena Zito, national political reporter. You can always get her writings at selenazito.com. And do pick up her latest book, Butler, The Untold Story of the Near Assassination of Donald Trump and the Fight for America's Heartland. Salena, thank you as always.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye. And Salena joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Stay tuned for a special message from Angel Dad Joe Abraham about his daughter Katie.
Put yourself in my shoes. I just spent my first Christmas without Katie. My daughter was murdered by an illegal immigrant Governor Pritzker protected.